Today, we're talking about one of the biggest action movie flops of the past year, while also looking at a golden opportunity to get things back on track. That failure is Ballerina, starring Ana de Armas. It was supposed to be a successful expansion of the John Wick universe, but unfortunately, it tanked at the box office and received mediocre reviews, a far cry from the rest of the franchise. On the flip side, we have Caine, the upcoming film focusing on the blind assassin played by Donnie Yen in John Wick, Chapter 4. This project seems to have all the ingredients for success. So, the big question is, why did Ballerina fail while everyone is so confident that Caine will succeed? That's what we're diving into in today's episode. But before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Let's take a step back and look at how the John Wick universe began and why it became such a cinematic phenomenon in the first place. Back in 2014, the first John Wick was released. On the surface, it looked like a simple action flick about a hitman coming out of retirement to avenge his dog. But what actually happened was something entirely different. The movie introduced a complete underground world populated by elite assassins with their own rules, currency, hotels, and moral code. All of this was paired with breathtaking fight choreography, a unique visual style, and a charismatic lead performance by Keanu Reeves. In fact, before its release, everyone expected the movie to fail. People thought it would just be another generic action movie featuring an actor who had been out of the spotlight and whose recent films hadn't done well. Because it was a low-budget project, even the production company itself expected it to flop. They were actually considering a direct-to-digital release to minimize potential losses at the box office. However, the movie took everyone by surprise. It earned glowing critical reviews and incredible word of mouth. People left the theater recommending it as the best action movie of the year, providing the kind of organic marketing that drove massive long-term revenue. That huge success pushed the studio to keep going. They released Chapter 2 in 2017 and Chapter 3 in 2019, leading up to the final installment in 2023, which raked in over $440 million at the global box office. At that point, the franchise had officially become an empire, prompting the studio to think about expansion. They produced the Continental series on Peacock and announced several spin-offs, including Ballerina and Caine. The idea was to explore other characters and broaden the horizon, allowing the audience to live deeper within this cinematic universe. But as we're about to see, not every expansion attempt hits the mark. Let's dive into the reasons why Ballerina failed. Now, let's look at the first major reason, a lack of a clear identity. Ballerina suffered from a genuine identity crisis. The movie tried to be everything at once, a female-led revenge flick in the vein of Kill Bill, a piece of the John Wick universe, and a standalone story with its own style. But because the studio didn't trust the lead character to carry the film, they forced John Wick into the story. This trapped the movie in a timeline that offered nothing new to the overall lore or even its own plot. This is the exact same trap the Continental series fell into, and even blockbuster sequels like Black Widow and Wonder Woman 1984. The end result? A movie that didn't know what it wanted to be. Furthermore, while Ana de Armas is an incredibly talented actress, we saw how brilliant she was in No Time to Die and Knives Out. The character of Eve Macaro in Ballerina was dull. She was written superficially, lacking the dramatic depth needed to make us truly care about her journey. Compare that to John Wick himself. He had a simple but deeply emotional backstory. A man who lost his wife and then lost the very last thing she left him, the puppy. His motivation was clear, relatable, and human. Eve, however, felt generic. Her story wasn't as impactful, and the film didn't take the time to build her character in a way that let the audience connect with her. The second reason is the over-reliance on fan service. Ballerina fell into the same trap many spin-offs do, trying to please the audience by shoehorning in references and cameos from the original films without any narrative necessity, much like we see in many Marvel movies or the recent installments of Mission Impossible and Fast and Furious. Keanu Reeves appears as John Wick, but his presence felt forced, clearly there just to draw people in. His scenes felt tucked into the script. If you had replaced him with a different character who had an organic conflict with the protagonist, the movie would have been much better. But as I mentioned, the studio lacked the confidence that the character could succeed on her own. This proves the strategy was flawed from the start. Making a movie about a character the audience has never met before in the franchise is a gamble. If they wanted a female-led spin-off, Sophia, Halle Berry's character from Chapter 3, would have been the perfect choice. People already knew her. John Wick would have been a natural part of her plot rather than just fan service. And the story of her relationship with her daughter would have provided much more emotional depth. Even on a visual level, the film tried to replicate the John Wick aesthetic, the neon lights, the music, the continental locations, but without bringing anything new to the table. Consequently, the audience felt like they were watching a budget version of John Wick rather than a fresh film with its own soul. The third reason comes down to direction and fight choreography. One of the ultimate strengths of the John Wick franchise is its innovative action sequences. The fight choreography didn't just move the needle, it redefined Hollywood action standards. Director Chad Stahelski was a veteran stunt coordinator and fight designer long before he took the director's chair, and that expertise is visible in every single frame. On the other hand, Ballerina was helmed by Len Wiseman. While he has a history with action franchises like Underworld and Total Recall, those films feature very standard action. They were decent for their time, but compared to the gold standard set by John Wick, Ballerina felt incredibly weak. The fight scenes lacked innovation. There were only two notable sequences, one brief moment in the middle and another at the end. For a 2-hour movie set in the Wick universe, that's simply not enough to get audiences to rush to the theaters. Even the ballet element, which should have been the core of the film's identity, was never truly integrated into the action. There were forced attempts to blend balletic movements with combat, but it felt artificial. If I were the director, the first thing I'd do is fuse the fluid grace of dance with the gritty Russian sambo style John Wick is known for. Instead, they just recycled the same choreography we've seen before. By Chapter 3, fans were already starting to feel that style was becoming repetitive. The Wick movies solved this by introducing new characters with distinct fighting styles and creative set pieces, but Ballerina failed on all fronts. No new ideas in fight design, no unique locations, and no standout characters. It felt like a low-quality copy-paste of the original films. The fourth reason is poor timing and franchise fatigue. Ballerina arrived just as the audience was beginning to burn out on the John Wick world. Chapter 4 hadn't been out that long, and it was followed by the Continental series on Peacock, which failed to meet expectations, a major red flag for the movie. Moreover, the film market in general was suffering from a saturation of sequels and spin-offs. Audiences have reached a breaking point with movies that try to cash in on a franchise's success without offering anything fresh. Ballerina also faced fierce competition from other action movies released in the same window, which dealt a final blow to its box office performance. This final breakdown of the behind-the-scenes drama really rounds out the critique. The fifth reason, production woes and extensive reshoots. There were countless reports of major issues during the film's production. The studio was reportedly unhappy with the initial cut, especially after disastrous test screenings. At that point, producer Chad Stahelski stepped in to oversee massive reshoots, which is usually a huge red flag. When a studio is forced to reshoot significant portions of a film, it typically means there are fundamental flaws in the script or the directorial vision. In this case, most of the action sequences were refilmed by Stahelski himself. Movies that go through this kind of production hell often end up feeling disjointed and losing their creative cohesion. Ballerina was no exception. Even after the reshoots, the movie felt like a collection of mismatched pieces. Furthermore, the extensive additional filming caused the budget to skyrocket, making it nearly impossible for the film to break even, let alone turn a profit, especially given the mediocre reviews. Finally, the sixth reason, weak marketing and lack of buzz. The marketing campaign for Ballerina was incredibly lackluster. While the trailers were decent, they failed to generate the necessary hype for a character being introduced for the first time. The film had almost no presence on social media. Compared to the massive, high-octane campaign for John Wick, Chapter 4, the promotion for Ballerina made it feel like even the studio didn't believe in the project. This always sends a clear message to the audience. If the studio isn't excited about the movie, why should we be? All of these factors combined led to the film's downfall. But here's the thing, you won't find any of these red flags when it comes to the next project, Caine. Now, let's talk about the project that has all the ingredients for a massive hit, the one set to achieve exactly what Ballerina failed to do. The first and most important reason is a powerful and beloved character. Caine appeared in John Wick, Chapter 4, and quite literally stole the show, even snatching the spotlight from John Wick himself. Donnie Yen delivered one of the absolute best performances in the entire franchise. The character had it all: dramatic depth, charisma, superhuman combat skills, and a genuine internal conflict. He's a blind assassin trying to protect his daughter, forced back into the world of killing he had fought to leave behind. Audiences left the theater wanting more of Caine. You don't have to convince anyone that this character deserves a standalone movie. The demand came directly from the fans. This is the complete opposite of Ballerina, which featured a new character that nobody was really asking for or waiting to see. The second reason is Donnie Yen, a genuine action icon. Donnie Yen isn't just an actor. He's a living legend in the world of action and martial arts cinema. He has a massive track record in Hong Kong with countless hits, most notably the Ip Man series, which is considered among the greatest martial arts films in history. His global fame is unique. Even though he hasn't starred in as many Hollywood lead roles as Jackie Chan or Jet Li, his name essentially guarantees the Chinese market. Chinese audiences adore Donnie Yen and view him as the true representative of Chinese cinema, especially since he has stayed rooted in their film industry. This makes the film a major draw for that region, featuring an authentic star, unlike Simu Liu in Shang-Chi, whom many Chinese viewers felt was a poor and unrepresentative portrayal of their culture. Furthermore, Donnie Yen performs a huge portion of his own stunts. He possesses real-world martial arts mastery. He's not just an actor training for a few months to learn choreography. He's a legitimate fighter with a deep understanding of movement design from his years behind the scenes. This ensures the combat will be far more diverse and technically superior. When you compare that to Ana de Armas, who is a fantastic actress but not an action specialist, it becomes clear that Donnie Yen is the perfect choice for a John Wick spin-off. The third reason is an original and fresh story. Caine won't just try to replicate the John Wick formula. It will offer a completely new narrative with an Asian backdrop and a cultural flair that is entirely different from what we've seen before. The character has a rich backstory, a blind assassin protecting his daughter, desperate to leave his past behind but trapped by a world that won't let him go. This creates a genuine conflict between duty and freedom, and between the past and the future. Furthermore, the film will draw from a rich well of Chinese culture, potentially blending it with Japanese influences like the Yakuza and Triad underworlds. This gives the movie a distinct identity. It won't just be John Wick in China. It will be an authentic Asian action film at its core that happens to exist within the John Wick universe. The fourth reason, learning from past mistakes. The studio has learned a hard lesson from the failure of Ballerina. They now know exactly what the audience wants and what they don't. The takeaways are clear. Focus on a strong character rather than empty fan service. Let the film stand on its own 2 feet without leaning on external cameos. Choose a director who lives and breathes action. Rumor has it that Donnie Yen himself might direct, which wouldn't be his first time behind the camera. He has extensive experience in both directing and fight choreography. On top of that, Chad Stahelski, the mastermind behind the John Wick films, is overseeing the project, which acts as a quality assurance guarantee that the standards will be incredibly high. The fifth reason, perfect timing. Unlike Ballerina, which was released when the audience was starting to feel franchise fatigue, Caine will arrive after a sufficient break. The fans are now hungry to return to this world, but only if the comeback is worth it. Caine is exactly who they want to see. Plus, we aren't seeing the same saturation of spin-offs as before. The studio has finally learned to be more selective. The sixth reason, creative potential. The character of Caine opens up incredible creative possibilities. A blind assassin in a world of elite killers is a fascinating concept packed with challenges. How does he fight? How does he navigate his surroundings? How does his blindness dictate his combat style? All these questions create opportunities for innovative action sequences unlike anything we've ever seen. We might even see something superior to Daredevil, especially since Caine doesn't have actual superpowers. He relies on highly sharpened senses and pure skill, but he's still grounded in reality. This makes the stakes much higher and the challenges far more difficult. The possibilities are truly endless, and the creative team has a golden opportunity to deliver something entirely fresh to the action genre. Finally, the last reason, genuine fan support. From the moment the Caine movie was announced, the social media response has been overwhelmingly positive. Fans are genuinely excited. They want this movie. They're creating fan art and theorizing about the character's past. This is the kind of organic buzz that money simply can't buy. When the audience is the one demanding the content, it builds a massive, loyal fan base before a single frame of the movie has even been released. Ultimately, the difference between Ballerina and Caine isn't just about luck or coincidence. Ballerina failed because it was made with a purely corporate mindset. Let's take a successful universe, plug in a new character, use John Wick's name for marketing, and then milk the franchise for sequels, spin-offs, and even animation. It was a move driven by profit rather than a desire to grow the fan base, a commercial mindset lacking true vision, respect for the audience, or an understanding of what made John Wick successful in the first place. Caine, on the other hand, has all the right ingredients: a powerful character the audience already loves, a star capable of carrying the film, an original and intriguing story, and a creative team that truly knows what they're doing. The lesson here isn't just for the John Wick franchise. It's a lesson for every studio trying to build a cinematic universe or a spin-off. Success doesn't come from just exploiting a famous brand. Success comes from delivering authentic content that is actually worth the audience's time and money. And that's everything for today's episode. Don't forget to let me know in the comments. Are you excited for the Caine movie? What are your expectations? Do you think it will live up to the John Wick standard, or will it be another disappointment like Ballerina? Of course, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.